Hi, and welcome to College Planning Untangled, where we try to help our families dealing with the college planning process to make their lives just a little bit simpler. I'm Kristin Clark. I'm a career exploration coach for 16 to 26-year-olds, and I'm here with Bobby Hood, our resident SAT and ACT guru. Bobby, we are on part 5, and it may even be part 6.
Yeah.
Writing college essays, which is a tough part of the college planning process. So let's just dive into it.
Absolutely. So we're just talking about all the different Common App essay prompts. And we talked earlier, here's the list of essay prompts, and I'll put the link in the chat, right? And so it's time to write those college essays. And so these are the topics. And so we talked earlier about some of the ones that are kind of our favorites, the ones that seem to be pretty easy, like things that get you excited and positive. So this week, let's talk about number 2, right, which is recount a time when you faced a challenge or setback or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience?
Wow.
Right.
Okay, you're hitting me cold on this one. And for our families, we're trying to give you ideas so that you can, just kind of dive in and realize what these people reading these essays really want to hear, so that you're running down a path and we're like, no, they've heard this all. So yeah, so stick with us. So Bobby, tell us the types of things that they truly want to hear about and the things they don't want to hear about.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, last week we talked about, an accomplishment or event or realization. It was a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself. So that could be something positive or negative. But here, this says a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, right? And so the things they don't want to hear is just very generic things and things that like everyone wants to can tell a story about, I guess, or whatever. Like, they've seen so many different essays about, I got injured in football and then I rehabbed and then I got better and then I was able to play football again. Right.
Yeah, boring. Yeah.
I mean, right. It's just, the thing is, like, you could write about something like that, but you would need to only to have 1 or 2 sentences about that, because that's the boring part. The thing is, period of personal growth, or whatever it is, the learning from the experience, right? And so, like, to me, like, I think that this essay prompt is like specifically for people who had very dramatic life challenges and had to.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
I've got an idea.
Yeah.
Bobby. So let's say it is, I got hurt in football and I rehabbed and I got back. So tell me if you think this is interesting. What I realized is I was only playing football because my parents wanted me to, or because all my friends wanted to. So what I realized is I needed to start doing things because they're important to me. So now what I'm doing is this. That to
absolutely.
me, yeah. So
that's a great essay.
Yeah.
That's absolutely a great essay, which is, so I learned something, which is that football isn't my thing. Or even I couldn't play again, so I had to go discover what actually is important in my life. Not just that I could have and I wasn't interested in it, but like, if something happened and you became physically unable to play the sport or whatever, right? That's a really, really dramatic life change, and you had to learn something new. But even if you did, the fact that you changed to something else, but it's like, well, I hurt myself playing football, so then I became a tennis player or something. That's also boring, right? It's just like learning something actually about yourself, right? And what did you learn and how, right? And so it's about, I can confront a challenge and come through it and learn things about myself and still see hope for the future. Because of course, what they want is a story that's unique to you, that tells them that if you come to college, you're going to make friends and you're going to not just hang out with just the same clique that you went to high school with, and that you're going to venture out on campus, and that when bad things happen to you, as they are guaranteed to in college, that you already have the equipment to be able to deal with that and move forward, right? So if you have I would say really only pick this essay if you have your family's house burned down and you had to even that's kind of boring, as sad as that is. That happens to lots of people, right? But you know, and I think it's very tempting, a lot of these things, to talk about my parents got divorced and then I had to go back and forth between two houses and my stuff was in two different places. That's not a good essay, right? You
Yeah.
know, but if you had an illness that affected you for years, I think they need these prompts for people who had really dramatic negative things happen in life. But so that's one thing. If you have a story like that, then figure out how to write it in a way that most of it is positive about what you learned and how you got better for it, right? The fact that you had this illness or whatever, you're still a human, you're still have a life to live, and hopefully you're finding a way to live life in a happy and positive way as best you can, right?
But Bobby,
That's what you want to write about.
I think you're bringing up a really good point, and that is too that this resilience piece of it, because colleges, let's face it, this is a business, right?
Yeah.
They do want to make sure that the kids that are coming there can make it past their freshman year. We know the stat. 30% of these kids that go to college are not going to make it to their sophomore year. So this question being, you faced something hard and you got through it, I think is kind of answering that question for them. Do you have the wherewithal to make it to your sophomore year? And that's important.
Absolutely. That's the story they're looking for. And that's the thing, is just to realize that that's all they want to hear, is that you're going to come, make friends, enjoy college, stick it out, graduate, right? Become an alumnus who donates money. That's what they want. Right?
I mean, to me, I just kind of realized this. Maybe I'm silly that I just realized this. It's really kind of playing the game.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. And so that's the thing, is, right. So when you're looking at this list of essay prompts, right, you want to look at something where you can find a story you can tell that says something, you know, good about yourself. And the other thing too is, like, you are not required to be completely honest about everything in your life and like tell them the dark details of everything that ever happened to you, right? That, like, and I mean, you could write this essay in a very, you could like take a very silly seeming small failure. I tried to learn to make sandwiches and I kept burning my grilled cheese sandwiches, and then I learned this dramatic thing from that, right? And like I learned this thing about myself, right? You can write that essay, right? Because the prompt doesn't really matter. The prompts are just starting points, right? But also, you know, colleges do list, a lot of colleges will say, we want you to write your essay on number 2 or 3 or 5, right? And we don't want essays about topics 4 or 6, right? They, like, some colleges do that. So that's part of the thing too, is look it up.
I think there's also, you know, a fight to say that you might even have a twist at the end where you go, and none of this is true, or is it?
Right.
You know, there's some intrigue in this as well. So it's like, you know, kind of keep them hopping, because they're so tired of reading the same old junk over and over.
Yeah, I think there's a joke to be made there that, or, you know, a play on words there that you could do. I'd be careful about straight up saying I made this all up, because that makes it sound frivolous or something. But I mean, but there's a thing to be like, what you could do is have some kind of obviously embellished things in your essay, and then have something at the end where you're like, and you know, I wonder if the reader can figure out which things were slightly, you know, or something like that. It'd be just making it a little like, okay, yeah, I mean, I was kidding about that, right? Like, I became the greatest blah 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 in the world as a result. You know, you're like, obviously, you know, that part's not true. You know, like, that would be funny. You know, just because it's more entertaining. Because they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not, you're lying, and then you get to then you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, that part. You know, I did not become the king of everything, right? You know, and yeah, and so that's the thing, is having fun with it, because the main thing is, what you don't want is, like, if they read the first 2 or 3 sentences and they know, okay, I've seen this a million times, right? They're gonna skim through the rest of it, and then they're gonna just put it back, right? But if you can get them to be engaged, they're gonna remember. Then they're gonna go to the meetings and going like, oh my gosh, I finally got a good, right? Let me tell you about this student, because that is what they do, right? They read your essay, and then they go present you, like, each, you know, they divide up all the students, and you are assigned to one admissions officer, and they go to the weekly meeting and they say, okay, I'm going to pitch these 10 students this week. And they tell the story, and they're like, here's what their essay was about. Here's how interesting they are. This is why they're an interesting person, right? You're giving them the tools to sell them to the rest of the committee, sell you to the rest of the commissions. And that's it. And so next week, we've got like 2 more of these to talk about, and let's wrap it up. But anyone who's interested, contact us, and like I can help you with essays. And if you're having trouble picking a topic, Kristin can help you with figuring out your strengths and what major you're going to be in, which should be a great jumping off point.
Yeah, and go back and listen to these guys. If nothing else, hopefully we've given you a few different ideas just to play with. It might spark just a thought for you to move forward with. So get out there, have fun, and come up with that fun essay. Bye, guys.
Okay, next week. Bye.